Sorry about that.
Oh, that's cool. So figuring out when a character has to have that like heart to heart with themselves moment and what it's going to be about is one of my favorite parts.
Cool. Yeah. I thought it was really interesting how you balance the two main point of view characters, Toraine and Luca. Did you find any challenge with that, trying to make, because Luca is definitely kind of like the driving force for a lot of the bad things that happen, but she's also a very sympathetic character. And Toraine is the really awesome protagonist. We love her. So did you find any challenging in like balancing their two point of views?
Yes. I actually had to work really hard with Luca and kind of decide how I wanted her to be perceived because she was actually in earlier drafts. She was a much darker character.
Mm.
I think in the first draft it was much more of a sort of bodyguard royal romance,
Mm.
and then I went like completely the other direction and it was much darker and she was not like what sympathy people find for her in this book wasn't even there.
Wow.
And so then I found a middle ground more because I wanted there to be room for her to grow, and in the other drafts it
Yeah.
wasn't that.
Yeah. I think her character arc was one of my favorite. Just seeing her views change and how she reacts to things. Let's see. Jekka also asks, how do you battle and defeat the fearsome dragon writer's block?
I will let you know when I find out.
Yeah.
No, I guess really this is my first year kind of having to write on contract, which is an experience, let me tell you. But it's I think for the most part, if I don't know something, I don't remember where I read it. I think it was like Rachel Aaron's um 10K, write 10K a day or something like that.
Okay.
And she said something in it that was like, if you have writer's block, you don't know something, you don't know enough. And I found that sometimes to be true quite often. If I actually want to write and I have writer's block on the specific story, it's because I'm missing some amount of world building. I don't know the setting clearly enough. I don't know the conflict well enough. So I'm missing certain kinds of nuances that could actually become, words on the page. Um, and so, or I don't know the characters well enough, any of these things. And so if I get in that kind of position, I'll go back and I'll either world build some more or I will character build some more. um if I just can't if I can't do anything, then it's probably that I'm burnt out and need to take a break. I found this past year I really enjoyed playing like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and then
Oh,
like
I
last
love that.
yeah, and Odyssey, and I think playing those games kind of they remind me why I like fantasy so much. And so after I play that for a while, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm having so much fun. Why don't I just go
Yeah.
write my own story?
Yeah. I love that. Those games I played a lot of those this year.
Yeah.
Definitely. Let's see. So kind of maybe walk us through the process of from like maybe the first concept of the Unbroken to final publishing. Like I understand it's a process of several years and it's a lot of it might be a lot longer than people think.
So from idea to publication, um, it's just like nine years, I think.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I think I started the first draft in like 2012, I guess, and wrote several drafts. It was in like 2017 that I actually started querying, though, and I got some good hits in general. Like the queries, I had an excellent hit rate on the queries, and then the rejections would start coming in for the partials and the fulls, and I was like, well, this sucks a lot. But I did get a couple revise and resubmits, and that got me at least to go back in, and just having that feedback was good to go back in and reconceive the novel a bit, but also that meant more drafts. And and after I'd gotten like the last rejection on this one revise and resubmit, I was like, you know what, I'm done. Like, if I can just, I'm not going to do this again. I don't have it in me. And so I got lucky enough to get a mentor with I don't think it's running anymore, but it's you know, kind of like pitch mentor type thing. But I got a mentor who, Laura Elena Donnelly, who wrote the Amberlow series. You guys should all check it out. It's awesome. And so I got my feedback from them, and basically I was like, if I just take my time, I don't rush, I don't leave anything undone this time, because I'd kind of held back, like, oh, I'll fix this later. This is a cool idea. Maybe I'll try putting it in later after I have an agent. And so I said, no, if I have any single idea, then I'm going to put it in now. And I actually did have one late stage idea in this, which there's a certain character who is a crowd favorite, definitely one of mine, the Jackal.
Oh, yeah.
Who made her appearance in this final draft. And honestly, maybe she's probably the entire reason I even got an agent.
Really? Wow.
So I did that draft. It took me like, I don't know, maybe a year and a half. A year and a half to just take my time and write that. I took a lot of breaks. And then I finished the last draft in actually around my birthday in 2019. And at that point, I knew I had an editor who wanted to see it. And that kind of sparked a bit of a bidding war between agents. And so I got an agent after I queried a couple weeks after that. And they're like, well, do you actually want to go with this editor? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Brie Hvid is Vida. I need to actually make sure I'm pronouncing that right. But Brie is amazing. Brie at Orbit, and she's also N.K. Jemisin's editor. Nice. If you guys can vote for the Hugos, vote for her, because she's doing the thing all the time. And it's not a commercial, I promise. And so I was like, yeah, definitely. And so they bought it, and here I am.
Awesome. Well, we're really glad with this. There's been so much excellent queer LGBT plus science fiction and fantasy out recently. How psyched are you to just be a part of this?
I can't even. There are no words. There are no words. Like,
yeah. It's great. So much stuff that I wish I had growing up, and now it's out.
So much, and now I can't even keep up. Like, I have a separate TBR just for all of my gay stuff.
Yeah.
I'm still not able to finish it all.
Yeah. It's just awesome to see. Let's see. Evan asks, what environment do you write best in? Music, nature, morning, or at night?
Yeah, it depends. I'm definitely a mood writer as far as music goes. So whatever kind of music is kind of puts me in the mood of the scene. I have, because I spend a lot of time in like 2 different places in the novels, I have a couple, or even just like different types of characters. I have a couple different playlists that I turn to. And so book 2 has been a lot of, maybe I'm telling on myself a little bit, but, or telling on the book, but so if you put the 2 songs from Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and then like add a couple more Vivaldi songs, and then just turn on the Spotify radio function, it will build you a pretty nice playlist that's kind of music in that style. And so that's I've built up that, so it's got a lot of Vivaldi, some other just like movie soundtrack type score things, but with a definite kind of I don't know, Baroque, is that the era? I don't know, but something like that.
Yeah.
And then the other one is Spotify has this playlist called Stargazer. I found it because I liked to listen to, I'll put it in the chat, Le Trio Gibran. They are a Palestinian trio of brothers. So the Stargazer playlist is a lot of music like theirs. So I kind of bounce between those depending on what scene I'm writing, what the mood is. Yeah, as far as timing, because I have to actually like work, I generally have to do it. When I say work, I mean like I have to work on the deadline, and so I cannot quite structure my life in terms of like the whims of my internal clock. I would, if I could, I would probably write at night, but I write during the daytime. In general, I might have some ideas and brainstorms at night though.
Sure. Yeah, I always find like best ideas come like right before you're going to bed, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah. Evan also asks, can you go into more detail about what querying means?
Yes. So querying is, if you want to be traditionally published, you need to get an agent. And to get an agent, you need to essentially pitch them your book, and the format might change depending on the agent in question, but usually they'll want like a couple paragraphs, kind of like what you'd see on the back cover of a book. Actually, if you have the Unbroken, a lot of the back cover copy that like the summary bit came directly from my first queries. So I'm pretty proud of that. If it made it that long, all the way to the finished book, it can't be too bad. So it's a couple paragraphs like that, and an introduction to yourself, why you're picking this agent, and if you have any relevant bio type information. Like for me, I studied French and Arabic and Franco-colonial literature, so it's kind of relevant. So I mentioned that in the query letter. Publications, if you have them, but fairly short and sweet, not more than like 300 words. And then some snippet, some excerpt, usually the first 5 pages at least. Some want a little more, some want a little less, but yeah.
Nice. Thank you. Let's see. So when did you know that you wanted to be a storyteller? What types of books or stories influenced you growing up?
I wanted to from a very young age, actually. I knew this much. My mom is a writer as well. Like she writes poetry and stuff, and when we were little she would write I guess like little parable rhymes or something. Like she had this little story called Gimme Kimmy, which was about this really rude girl who was very greedy and would just make everybody give her things without saying thank you or anything. And then there was Smelly Nellie Peterwink, who didn't take baths, and so she didn't have friends or something like that. So there's all these sorts of little moral stories that I was probably supposed to be paying attention to, and but they're always rhymey and fun. And so I think that was part of it. And but I also just really liked it, acting or being in different situations. And so like I did theater in school as well, and I think all of it, the writing, the theater, was just because I wanted to be in cool different worlds. And so this is just one way that I do it. Like I guess I could, but I can't do all, like I can't just walk around with a sword and gallop across on my magic horse. At least not the way I'd like to, not with the reactions I would like. So I do it in books instead.
Yeah, I mean, we all do what we can, right? Yeah. Let's see. What was your favorite part of the Unbroken to write?
It's a bit spoilery, but there is a last scene at the end with a certain rebel and Terrain, and they're hanging out outside, trying really hard not to admit they have feelings.
Yep.
And so that was an accidental scene, but I think it was like I don't even know how it happened. I just was like, oh, let's just write about some feelings.
I love that scene.
And I almost forgot to put it in, but
no.
Yeah, that was my favorite, I think.
It was great. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So on the other hand, what was your most challenging part of the book to write?
Everything else.
Everything else.
We'll say it this way, I am challenged by writing political kind of intrigue stuff, and I like it, but it's hard. Like I'm trying to write smart characters, and I don't feel like I am smart enough to be as smart as they are supposed to be. So working on that, I think that was actually Ryan Van Loan, who wrote a sort of Sherlock Holmes type character, just wrote an article about how to write characters who are smarter than you. So I probably need to go read it. But yeah, that was the hardest, I think.
Yeah, so coming up with like all the different political plots and intrigue. Did you like kind of did you like map it out beforehand, or I don't know, maybe talk about the process of that a bit?
Honestly, I don't remember how I did it. I think I had to do a lot of working backwards. But also a couple things that I read. There are these books by I don't know, I think his name might be Robert Greene, and I'm hesitant to, like, I do not recommend them because they're kind of like they're phrased like they're self-help books, but they're like, what's the language rules here? Like they're self-help for jerks. So there's a book like the 35 Rules of War and the 48 Laws of Power, something like that. And so I read them because they talk about these different strategies that people use. And if you read them, you absolutely recognize people who use them. Like in the Power book, I was just like, this is Trump, this is Trump, this is Trump, this is Trump. And so that was really good just to sort of understand how people might Machiavelli their way into different situations. And that's kind of where the inspiration for Luca's little self-help guide that
the rule of rule.
yeah. So guys, don't be like Luca. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
But yeah, so I read that, and that kind of helped me figure out, like, okay, this is a strategy that people might use. Let's see if this person can use this strategy, and what would happen, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Evan asks, is there a type of character you write best, you like to write, versus a type of character you have a hard time writing?
Kind of going with that. I like writing fighty characters who do not have to be super political. But I also like, I do like, the thing I did like a lot about Luca is that because she's smart characterly, she's just a lot more snarky. It was fun to write in like the more sarcastic narrative that she has. I liked, there's a character you guys will meet in book 2 who she's had a mention, Sabine. She's a sort of charming rake-ish character, another noble, so take it all with a grain of salt, but she's very fun to write. Has a way with the ladies and the swords, so she's been really fun to play with.
Really looking forward to her based on the little we've got in the first book. Let's see. So really, obviously, clearly, a lot of the empire and the countries in in The Unbroken are inspired by real life events and history in our real life. Any of the characters inspired by real life historical characters?
Not really. This is kind of where I didn't want my research to hew too closely to any particular character. But I know that there are like the founder of one of the first universities in the world, the oldest, which is in Morocco. She was a woman, and so that kind of inspired the love of education that Joshua and Aaron have, and Joshua's role as a teacher, and that was also that character. She was whole before, like as a character, but then I had a teacher who did pass away, and so because she was so instrumental in the creation of this novel, she was my francophone literature teacher. She kind of got a little nod to her in that character, but not specific actual historical figures. No.
All right. Yeah. Let's see here. So is there anything you learned from publishing your first book that you would maybe that you've learned from and you would do something different in the future?
Probably. But I don't know what exactly, like because there's so much that, you know, when we're going through the deals and stuff like that, like you can never really know how it would have turned out if you chose another path. So as far as like the actual books and deals and stuff goes, I'm very happy with that. But I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, maybe this book is too smart for me and I should have waited, because I don't know if I can make book 2 match it. I'm going to do my best.
I have faith in you.
But
yeah. Let's see. Julie asks, do you have any favorite authors you enjoy?
Yes. So many. As folks who have read them both can probably guess, I love I love Seth Dickinson and the Baru series. I had already finished my book, actually, like my first drafts, before I read Baru Cormorant, but I remember I was in grad school, I was doing my MFA, and I remember reading the first page of Baru, and I took it to my thesis director, and I was like in tears, like, somebody already wrote my book, somebody already wrote it. And so he read the first page, and he's not really a fantasy buff. Like he's on the realistic lit side of things, and he just kind of looked at it, and they looked back at me, and he's like, the bad part is it's not bad, like it's really good. So but then I actually read it, and I was like, okay, so we're clearly going to be taking this from a couple different angles, me and Seth, and so I like to think that The Unbroken is very much in conversation with it, which is pretty cool, because like I said, he's one of my favorite authors, and also short stories are pretty great as well, if you guys haven't read them. Morgan and the Sunglare, excellent. Yes, make a list for sure.
Yeah,
just go through like his entire short story, like bibliography. Well, who else? Lately I read Tessa Gratton's Lady Hotspur, and that was pretty amazing. It did a lot of the fantasy that I wanted when I was a kid. So like it felt very much like a return to like the Wheel of Time and stuff like that, except it was essentially like in a completely gender swapped cast. And you're still fighting for all these thrones, but it's like basically it's these 3 best friends, and one of them is essentially like not a super soldier, but she's like the best knight in the land. And so they're the 2 best friends who are trying to get the throne. They need her to pick a side. And essentially whoever has her is going to win. So it's very tense, but just really beautiful, really lush story. And it's also mostly a standalone. It's got a prequel, like Queens of Venice Lear came first, and you can read it if you want the full background, but it won't diminish to have read just Lady Hotspur.
Yeah, I can also confirm Baru Cormorant is just an amazing series. Definitely recommend for fan of the Unbroken. And they're kind of dealing with the same themes and issues, but different kind of sides of it. Just in a different way. So love that. Let's see. And the 5th season. Yep, that's on my book list. I need to read right now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yep. Let's see. So was there anything, I like to ask this, is there anything you really wanted to include in The Unbroken, but you had to cut, or it didn't fit, or it just wasn't working?
Yes. So originally, actually, I conceived the novel as with 3 main points of view. So Joshua was going to get a point of view, like primary point of view pages as well. But in the end, I ended up cutting them because it became unwieldy, and her storyline didn't have the same through line projection as the other 2 did. And sometimes I still wonder, like, if I could have, if I just, I don't know, if I'm smarter, if I was smarter, if I could have done it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That would have been just an interesting, like, just point of view to see. But yeah, I can understand how that would maybe affect the flow of the book, the pacing.
Maybe they will let me write a prequel.
Ooh, that would be interesting. So it's a trilogy, correct? That you're expecting. Any idea when we can expect the second book? Maybe? No.
Well, in theory, it was originally supposed to come out in March 2022. I think that will maybe change just because of scheduling wise and drafts, but I did have a call with my editor yesterday, in fact, about book 2. So I will be working on my revisions desperately. But I feel good about it. I feel better about it.
Awesome. Good luck with that. That sounds really exciting. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. What would be your dream live action casting if they ever adapted this into a series or a movie?
So I didn't ever really have a firm idea for who Luca was in my head until last year. And then I did see Portrait, and so Adele Haenel is who I would cast as Luca. She has the right energy, like off camera, like that's very sort of, I don't know, confident seeming elegance, and for Touraine, someone I still haven't watched. I still haven't watched The Expanse, but someone said there's a character in it who would be a great Touraine. I think she even plays a sort of ex-military rebel type character in The Expanse, and I was like, okay, that sounds good. She certainly looks the part.
Yeah.
Might need to bulk up just a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Those are 2. I think I try to think of who I might like as the Jackal or Joshua, and yeah, I don't have a full cast list. I mostly don't work off of like complete real people in my head until I just get, like, I don't know, just a whim, like something like that happens.
Understandable. I've been meaning to check out The Expanse, so now I have a good reason to. Let's see. So thinking about the amazing cover by Tommy Arnold, how awesome was working with him to design that?
I definitely died a little bit when I found out that he was going to do my cover, and then when I first saw the like little sketch he sent, um, it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And so I have no words. I'm really excited for what happens in what he's going to do with the book 2 cover. I do not know what, I mean, I know what I've asked for. I do not know what direction the Orbit art director, Lauren Penapinto, I don't know what she and he have discussed. But I trust them completely. So
yeah, how much control do you have over like what is on the cover?
I think I haven't had to exert any yet, because I was like, they gave it to me and I loved it and that was the end. But there was a little bit of a chat beforehand with my editor before both books. Like she's like, this is what I'm envisioning, and I was like, yes, the end, that's perfect. And we had a similar talk before book 2, where like, well, who do you want on the cover? And I was like, well, what kind of vibe do you think? And now that we're kind of sorry, I think I lost you.
Okay. Yep, I think we're back.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's probably me. But now that we're trying to create a coherence between all 3 books, we had to talk a little bit about what we might like book 3 to look like as well. So
that'll be exciting. Looking forward to it. For those of you who might not know, Tommy Arnold also did the covers for Gideon and Harrow the Ninth. So yes, if you're familiar with those. Let's see. Oh, are there any other settings or genres you'd like to tackle in the future, maybe?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would like, I love pirates. Ooh. And my agent also loves pirates. And so she's been like, come on. And so at some point, I think you guys can probably expect pirates from me. Though, if I'm being totally honest, you know, I know a lot of folks, a lot of writers in the background. I think that we're going to have a pirate explosion in the next few years, and it won't even, like, I'm going to come late to the party if I come to the pirate party, because I think like you'll see in the next year or two the pirate wave is going to come. But in addition to pirates, I also just really want to go back to kind of my like old school epic fantasy roots, and just kind of destroy the like old white male paradigm.
Yes.
And like ensemble cast going on a quest, like all of that, except with a bunch of like queers and people of color, and just like just everything.
Party boat.
Yeah, just everything that we haven't had. I want to do it in a sort of epic fantasy kind of thing.
That sounds awesome. Like pirates. And what about sci-fi? Have you ever dabbled in that or been interested?
I have thought about doing like sci-fi, and I've done a little short stories here and there, but I'm actually relatively new just even to reading the genre.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'm ready to tackle a novel with all of that kind of, I don't know, when you've been in a genre for so long, you just sort of interiorize the conventions of the genre, even like the beats of it. Like I'm sure a romance reader could like who like was devoted could just instantly like this is this part, this is this part, this is the third act breakup, this is the and like this like you like they know the structure and also what's already been done and how to mess around with that. And I don't know that I have the background yet or even the appreciation for like what possibilities those stories can have. I think so. If I do sci-fi novel length, it might be a while.
Yeah. I think like a lot of people group sci-fi and fantasy together, but I think a lot of the things that they tackle are pretty different in their themes and such. So it would be interesting to see. But anything, I think I'd definitely read anything you publish after The Unbroken. Let's see. Julie asks, as someone who provides entertainment, where do you find entertainment? Like podcasts or a specific TV series that entertains you? Something like that?
Video games for sure. It's harder for me to watch TV and movies because I can be very impatient. But I do like TV shows. Like if I can sit myself still long enough. It's also hard because if I'm ever watching something with people, I'm like, well, let me pause and talk about this thing real quick or whatever. And it doesn't always go down so well. But lately I've been watching this, it's a Korean drama called Mine. And it's essentially about this hotel mogul family, like a dysfunctional rich family. And I'm just completely in love with this bitter, older, like she's a daughter-in-law. Like she married into this family. She's very unhappy about it because like the love of her life is this artist woman who she keeps avoiding. And it's amazing. And I would do anything for her, absolutely anything. Highly recommend it if you guys would like some.
What was it called? Mine?
Mine.
All right. Definitely check it out. Yeah, you mentioned earlier that you were playing a lot of Valhalla, Assassin's Creed. Is that your favorite video game or?
The Assassin's Creed franchise, I would say, is at the very least, it's the top. It's the thing that I'm probably most devoted to. I bought, at least since I actually had like my own income, I bought all of the games that came out. Then I like games with some sort of stealth mode. So Assassin's Creed, obviously, but also the like the Shadow of Mordor series, essentially because you get to get really good at a few different types. You got your stealth, you got your melee, and you've got your ranged. And so I enjoy just playing in those three modes and then learning how to like lay waste to 100 orcs at a time, that kind of thing.
I wonder if you've ever played the Dishonored series.
I have not. My little brother told me I should, but that's as far as I got.
Yeah, it's definitely like very stealth based. It deals with like you play as depending on the game, either the bodyguard of the Empress or the Empress herself. So it's really interesting. Deals with like plague and the class inequality and stuff. So it's really fun.
That's not up my alley.
Yeah, definitely recommend it. Yeah, Liz also agrees with Shadow of Mordor. Played a bit of that, but it was fun. Let's see. Oh, I've seen some really awesome fan art of Terrain floating around. What are your thoughts on that? Do you love to see fan art?
It's the best thing ever. When I was writing my little author dreams back in the day, I never thought that this was a thing. It wasn't even on my radar, but as soon as it starts happening, it's like there aren't any words for it. To see that people are jiving with your work so much, and like some of these people like they art for a living, and so to take that brain space to play with my characters, like to do extra work on top of their already job, it's such an honor. And then obviously like people are just good at it. Like I can't draw for shit. So so to have somebody like give me visuals of my characters that I couldn't even make myself is pretty awesome too.
Yeah, definitely. It's just so fun to see different artist interpretations of characters that you only read about. Let's see. Here's a good one. Is there a question or a topic that you always want to like be asked or talk about, but it's never been brought up, or you've never had the chance to in these things?
You know, honestly, I feel like there probably is, but because it's not asked, I don't think about it.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. That's fair.
I mean, I guess the music one is one that I don't get asked very often. And so I think you guys should all go check out La Trio Gibran. There's another artist, Flan, who is also from North Africa, I think Algeria. And he's a rapper. And he's definitely associated with a particular character. I'll let you guys guess who. You can tweet me later and see if you can figure out who. Music one I think is one, but if you guys have any more questions, you just think that, oh, this no one's ever asked, this is clearly the best question, then
definitely. Let's see. Liz also going off of the fan art question, has a fan art ever changed your idea or impression of a character?
Not like my impression, but, and this technically isn't fan art because it's it was Tommy Arnold's art for the cover, but I realized that I had never quite been as specific about some of her clothing, and even about actually like some of the temple stage direction or stage setting, stage dressings. And so after I actually saw his artwork, I was like, oh, okay, this actually is a much better visual for her outfit. So I was still in copy edit stage, so I was able to go back in and then actually make the text meet the image that he'd drawn for the setting of the temple, but also for her outfit. And he had read the draft, the working draft of the novel by that point. So
yeah, so that is the temple on the cover there. That's yeah. This one is a question I just had last night while flipping through. So on the map in the front of the book, there's like little annotations. Who is intended to have been writing those?
I think a Rebel. I think maybe the Jackal. I could totally see her doing that, but I think she might have been a bit harsher. So I think maybe she started to scribble something on it and then someone took it away from her before she got too angry. Yeah, but it's definitely like a Rebel kid.
Yeah, I was just like, it's an interesting little, I love seeing little annotations on the maps, like in like the Baru series. Did you come up with the map, or did someone else draw that, or did you have like something outlined in your head?
I had like the roughest, ugliest kind of sketch. I'm just looking at it real quick. I had the roughest, ugliest kind of sketch. Mostly it was like, I know that this is maybe this far away from this place, and somewhere over here is this. And then we actually got an artist, Tim Paul, to do the map. And I was like, look, I can't help you that much, but this is the ugly map that I was using to write. And he's like, okay, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
But I did, I knew that I wanted it to be, like I sent him some old French maps to show him kind of like the detailed stylings, like I was really excited about that part.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Just fun little details like that.
Yeah, those are always neat to explore. Oh, here's one. Who'd be your dream arm wrestling match for Terrain?
So I actually, speaking of fan art, someone did actually do a Gideon Terrain um, fan art. I wonder, I might be able to find a link for it, but if maybe I'll just retweet it, and you guys, if you guys follow me on Twitter, then you'll be able to see it. But
All right.
And so that was pretty fun, and it's got kind of Gideon's telltale, like, I should not be in a room with other queer women at all because
Nope.
I cannot control myself.
Nope.
So that's the Gideon in that picture. But I think if I were going to match her up with somebody else, I think that she and Tanhyu could have some fun. I would pay to see that matchup.
That would be really intense.
I think Tanshir would break her in half, so
yes.
That's not. I think that Terrain would be interested in the challenge, but I think that when she showed up, she'd realize that she'd bitten off way more than she could chew, and that she wouldn't come out of it alive.
Yeah, she's smarter than that. So everyone in the audience, we have about 5 minutes left. If you have any final questions, you can pop them in the chat, or if you want to ask them on camera, you're welcome to do so. Let's see. How about, do you have any questions for the audience? Maybe.
I mean, if people have read it, I wouldn't mind hearing like your favorite parts. But I actually found out. I will put this in the chat. Here is Terrain and Gideon arm wrestling.
Oh, that's fantastic. Poor Gideon. I think she would lose. Yeah. My favorite part was probably, it was near the end, so it's pretty spoilery. But just the last time that Terrain and Luca just like had to sit down with each other. Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. It was just really cool seeing their back and forth. Like, are they're enemies now, but they still have feelings for each other? It's like, what's gonna happen? That was really, really cool. And hopefully we will have some more unforgettable moments with them in the future. Maybe anything you can give us about the future books at all? Any? I know you have spoilers you can't reveal, but
well, there are some new points of views that I'm really excited about. But I can say that you have at least heard about all of them in book one. So, and they haven't had point of views in book one, but you have heard about them, about all of the new point of view characters, or you might have seen them. Depends.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So where can people find you in the future? Any events you have coming up that'd be interested in?
I actually I have an event tomorrow. I will be doing a panel chit chat with author Mike Brooks. I did have his book here a second ago, but he wrote The Black Coast, and its sequel, The Splinter King, is out sometime next month, I think. And so we'll be chatting as part of Orbit's like a co-thing with Portal Bookshop. It's a queer UK bookstore here, and it's part of Orbit's Pride festivities. And after our panel, we will both be taking over the Portal Bookstore Twitter. You can find more details about that from my own Twitter, because I've been retweeting it, which I'm putting here in the link down low in the chat. Otherwise, my website is also here.
All right. I think one last question. Let's see. What of all your characters, who would you want to like hang with the most?
All of them.
Oh,
For different reasons,
yeah.
but I would chill with them, maybe not all of them together. That could
Yeah,
be
that would be dangerous.
but yeah, I would probably hang out with all. I think, I might hang out with. Oh, I know the question I have for you guys. Okay, first, I'm
Yeah.
I think I would like to hang out with Kantik.
Wow.
For various reasons, but yeah, she's a character who interests me. And so I'm not allowed to look at fan fiction for legal reasons.
Of
But
course.
I always wonder what people's like non-main ships would be.
Non-main relationships, like
Yeah. So outside of Terrain and Luca or Terrain and Pruitt, who are like they're all kind of canon in their own rights, but
I'm really interested in Luca and Sabine that you had mentioned earlier. I think that would be interesting to see, or just Luca with anyone, I guess, in the Empire, because we haven't really explored, like we haven't really been to Balladeer that much in the novel, so it'd be interesting to see her dynamics
well,
with
you
them.
guys will see plenty of that.
Ooh, exciting for it. All right. Yeah, it looks like we're all really excited for the upcoming book. Yeah. Well, thank you so
Awesome.
much for your time.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It was such a pleasure.
It was awesome. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. You guys too. Enjoy the rest of the con.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, everyone.